Welcome to Fundamentals of Excel. My name is Marites Macapagal. I will be your instructor for today's session. So let's just go over the learning objective for today's session. Participants will be able to navigate Excel 2016 environment. We're going to learn how to enter and edit data. We're going to learn how to create the basic formula and use at least the sum function. Then finally, of course, we're going to learn how to save and print an Excel file. So, when we are, let me just stop at this point and share with you Excel. So, okay, on the screen is an Excel, but allow me to close it and reopen Excel for you. So let me click on the Start button and click on Excel. Here at New York City Transit, you would notice that when you open Excel, it would actually say Office 365. That is the version that we are all using right now. And this is what you call the backstage view of an Excel, right? Where you could see on your left side the home, the new, and open. Okay, and in the home, okay, on the backstage view, what you could see right here, okay, is actually recent pinned and shared with me. So these are the recently opened file in the computer that I'm currently using. There are certain files that I have on the pin. What are the pinned files? These are the files that I am frequently using myself. And that's my second quarter personal training, my schedule, and the room usage worksheet that I need to check every now and then. So let me go back to my recent. Now, if I would like to start creating, right? Right here on your left, you could, on the top, you could see I have a blank workbook. So if I would like to open and get started, I would simply click on the blank workbook. I'm going to get back later about the template, right? So when I click on the blank workbook, what you will see now is here is a page for a workbook. Look on top on the title bar. What you could see here is the word book 1, which represent a workbook. So let's just get ourselves familiar with some Excel spreadsheet terminology. And what is it? What is really a workbook? A workbook is an Excel file that serves as a container to store related Excel worksheets. If you could look down at the bottom, that I have in this Office 365, basically in Office 2016 version of Excel, there's only one worksheet available every time you open up a new workbook. Okay, and you could see it right here down at the bottom, worksheet number 1, right? So this actually, and by default, gives you workbook or book 1 as a default name. This worksheet, as you can see, is the electronic spreadsheet that is used for entering, storing, and analyzing data in Excel. Think of this page as an individual page within Excel that displays and allow you to work with your data. It is actually made up of rows represented by numbers and column represented by letters, okay? Now, let's go deeper into the components of a worksheet, right? So take a look. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger so you could see better. So you could see, as what I mentioned earlier, the component of a spreadsheet, so it is made up of row and column. So I have column headers, and in my column headers, you could see A, B. Right now, you could only see up to letter K, right? And these are my column headers. Vertical group of cells, okay, identified by letters. There are actually a total of 16,000 columns in one worksheet alone, right? To be able to see the last column, all I'm going to simply do, if you're using a computer, if you wanted to try it with me, hold down the control button on your keyboard and use the arrow key going to the right. The last keyboard combination is XFD, which represents 16,000 columns in one worksheet. Okay, so let me to go back to A1 I would simply press Control Home, and that will bring me back to column A. So these, as you could see, if I scroll slowly, it goes from letter A and ends up to letter Z. And once it's reached the last letter of the alphabet, it repeats itself by using the double the letter A B, A C, and so forth and so on until it reaches the last column, XFT, which again is 16,000 column. Now, on the row, so you have the row and the row headers. Row headers are represented right here by numbers, right? And in this screen right now that I'm sharing with you, you could see only up to row number 14. However, do you know that there's the reason why there's only one worksheet in here is because there are over 1 million row in one worksheet. So you could never run out of space. So if I press a control key button and use the arrow down, look down at the bottom that there are 1,048,576 row in just one worksheet. And you know you will never run out of space, okay? So what I'm doing, yes, Mr. Pursuit or Jay Pursuit, yes, I am actually showing you a navigation of Excel. Let me allow me to go back to A1, okay? And this is basically A1 right there. Now, let me just go over the user interface of Excel. So as you all know, most of you are actually Office 365 user and you are familiar with our title bar, the quick access toolbar, okay? And of course, where you have the basic command available for you, you have the ribbon, which are divided by groups. You have the formula bar right here. And of course, you have your name box. The name box actually displays the cell reference for each current selected cell or the cell reference of the active cell in the current frame. So currently, I am in A1. You actually name the cell. So in a spreadsheet, basically, you are actually identifying each cell. The cell is actually an intersection of a row and a column, and you name its cell with the letter and the number where they actually correspond. In the first cell that I am in, this is referred to as A1. If I click on this cell, this is column D, row 3. So this cell is named D3. To bring me back to A1, all I have to do is press Control Home and I'm back to A1. So that's basically how you identify every cell in this worksheet. Down at the bottom is what you call the status bar. Right now, you could see right here is the word ready. So it is waiting for us to interact with it. Once you start entering some information, it will change from ready to what you call enter mode. And once you have some information in it, you could also be switched to what you call an edit mode. Now, on the right side, as you could see on the right across is the view and zoom control, which provide you a quick access to command that changes the current work view and change the magnification. You notice there's a minus that could actually make it a little bit smaller. You could see more. And there is the plus sign right there that you could actually zoom in so you could see a lot better. When you click on the number where you could currently see 200 right now, this is the zoom dialog box. So if I would like to put it back to 100% so I could see more, all I have to do is click on to 100% and click OK. Now I could also use again this one and bring me to 200%. So it's actually easier for us to see the screen. So that's basically your zoom control. One of the features that we used to have in Office 2016 is what you call Tell Me. But in Office 365 that we all have, we still have the search option. So if you wanted to be able to search and ask some question, the computer could actually allow you to give you a direct answer to some of your question. Also, it's good to note that on the right side, there is what you call share. You see the share button right here? So if you hover over the share a workbook with others, okay, right within Excel. So if you have an existing data or information that you just have created, you could easily be able to share the information. You can let them edit the workbook or simply just view it. So I'm just going to show you how to do that later on. It is a lot easier to share once you start saving your file in OneDrive. And once you have saved your file in OneDrive, that all of us have access to, each one of us have our own OneDrive account, it is actually a lot easier to share. So we will go over that portion later on. I will get back to that portion as we proceed. Now, you also have some kind of, again, as we use them, I'm just going to be able to start navigating. I'm going to go back to the file, okay? And I am back to my what you call the backstage view. I just wanted to go over quickly another way of creating a workbook in Excel if you don't have any time and you would like to be able to utilize some of the templates available in Excel. These are some of the templates we have in Excel. Take a look. If you scroll down, you could actually use this, some of this, to be able to get some idea if you're planning to use Excel for any of this function. So you could actually use this for a planner. You could actually use this for your own personal use where you have the bill paying checklist. You could actually create and use this for your personal budget. If you scroll up, there is a schedule, a loan, a personal monthly budget. And these are some of the examples that you have. However, there are some other, let's say, files that you would like to see. If I would like to use an inventory, so you could type the keyword inventory, and you click on the start searching, and it will start searching some of the templates available about inventory worksheet. And you could see some of the example of our inventory. So if you click on once in it, you will be able to have a preview of it and a description associated for that particular template. If you use the arrow to the right, it will allow you to be able to have a little preview and read the description to be able to help you, find the right template that you could actually use for the project that you are actually working. So if you're doing a book collection list, if you're doing a home content, a personal inventory, right? If you're making those kind of warehouse inventory, so if you work for the supply and you would like to create your own new warehouse inventory, you could actually take advantage of this. And how do we use a template? You simply, once you are interested to use one a particular template, all you have to do is simply click on the create, and it is right there for you. Warehouse Inventory 1 using the default name. You could always rename this, but it will give you the description about the content and the layout of this. You notice I have 3 worksheets in this workbook: inventory list, inventory pickup list, and bin lookup. So these are some, just an example of like a template that you could actually use. If you decide to close it and you're not interested in it and you would like to try something else, to be able to close a file without closing Excel, using your keyboard, simply use the control key button, hold it down, and while holding down the control, press letter W. And that will allow you to close an existing file without closing Excel. Okay, so that's how, and that's a quick way of closing your Excel file without closing an Excel workbook. Okay, so let us create a new workbook. And right here, just like when I opened earlier a blank workbook, it gave me book number 1. So if you wanted, you notice currently I have book 1. If I use this new button on your quick access toolbar, it will open and allow me to open another workbook. And there you go, I have book number 2. So allow me to close book number 2. Control W will allow me to close book number 2. So I still have book 1 open. Another way of opening another workbook is simply pressing the control button and the letter N. And by pressing control N, will allow you to open another workbook. Take a look. We now have book number 3. I don't need too many workbook open. So to close workbook number 3 without closing Excel, again, do you remember which button should I press to close an existing workbook without closing Excel? Anybody? You could put it in the chat for me. If you could remember the keyboard combination to close a file. Control W, perfect, Therese. Thank you, Therese. So Control W will allow you to be able to close that. Perfect, very good. So let's continue. Now, we will start by creating a new workbook. And in creating a new workbook, we are going to enter and edit text and values. You know, in Excel, when you are actually entering data, Excel entries can include many types of data. However, Excel recognizes two things, text and values. When you type, the data is entered in the active cell. What do you mean? And let me be very specific and tell you the difference between a text and a value. So in Excel, text in cells can be any length. Okay, and can change the text formatting such as the font and the size. And by default, text in a cell is aligned to the left of the cell. Okay? Values, on the other hand, can include numbers, formulas, and function. Excel recognizes cell data as a value when its number, when it begins with a plus, with a minus, with an asterisk, with an at, with a pound, and with the dollar symbol. By default, a value in a cell is aligned to the right of the cell, okay? So later on, I'm going to start showing you, how to edit it as after we start entering some data. So allow me to show you how to enter some data. And then later on, I will ask some of you, if you have time, to be able to practice it with me. So if I am in A1 right now, and you notice I could actually simply type. So I'm going to type and create and put in my heading. So I would call it my company sales report. Okay, so allow me to make it a little bit more bigger. So now notice how my insertion point is blinking at the end. Okay, what I have in A1 could be seen in the formula bar, and that's how it is, right? Now, in Excel, you have to confirm your entry. If you look at the status bar right now, you notice from ready, it is now in the enter mode. So if I decide to accept this, I have two ways of confirming my entry. Either I could hit the enter key. If I hit the enter key, my insertion point, which is currently in A1, will go to A2. So watch me. I'm going to hit the enter key using my keyboard. Now, my active cell is now in A2, and that's how it works. Okay? Now, let me just make it a little bit bigger so you can see more and better. Okay, there you go. So I am now in A2. So I will now type the next entry, monthly sales report by region. Okay. Another way of accepting entry in any cell is by using these icons right here on your formula bar. On the left, the moment I started typing, you notice there's an X to cancel whatever I've just typed, or to use the check mark to accept the entry that I just did, monthly sales report by region. So if I click on the check marks on the formula bar, it is also accepting my entry. Notice how now my text in A1 and A2 is actually overflowing. Okay, at this point my title doesn't fit in a cell. It appears to go into the next cell. So company sales report overflows to B1 and C1, as well as my monthly sales report went over to C1. But because the adjacent cell is empty, it is okay. It's not going to be truncated. Okay, so we will later on learn how to adjust those column headings. Okay, so let me continue. So if I am going to allow me to go to A4, I will type the word months. Okay, and if I hit enter key, the first month that we have in a year is January. So I am typing January. There you go. Now, after January, the consecutive month goes up from January to December, correct? So in Excel, okay, there is an automatic field data. Okay? There's a feature that automatically would allow us to fill data in a worksheet cell. And that is what you call the autofill feature. We use autofill feature to fill cells with data that follows certain pattern or based on a data in another cell. For instance, the months of the year, where I could see January right now. So if I scroll to be able to show the months, notice in my current and active cell, okay, this is my current active cell, which contains the month of January. Okay, you notice the active cell is surrounded by a green border. And at the corner of that, on the lower right-hand corner, if you see my mouse now is in the form of a white cross, if you put it on the tiny box on the lower right-hand corner of the cell, that tiny white cross will turn to a tiny black cross. And if I click and hold that cross with my left mouse. I'm holding down my left mouse now. As I drag it down, notice how it gives me a preview of the next month. February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, up to December in 16. And when I let go, I have the months of the year. You see that? I'm just going to take a look at it. There you go. So I was able to complete the series, and that's what an autofill, one of the things that an autofill can actually do, complete series, okay, for the months. And you notice this month, actually, some of the months are overflowing to column B. Okay, so I'm going to deal with that later on. So next, after typing those months, I would now put here some of the column heading. So I would say region 1. I would add a space and make it region 1. If I have 4 regions, instead of typing the region, I could still continue use the autofill, and I could drag it to region 2, region 3, and region 4. When I let go, I now have the series of region 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's another pattern that I was able to use the autofill feature. That's indeed so beautiful. And as we go along, you will see how we could continue to use the autofill options or features. So again, it could complete as follow a pattern or based on the data that you have selected. You could actually select one or more cells to use a basis for filling up additional cells, okay? And that's what it is. Now, it is always good to know Okay, that's when you are actually creating a workbook or a worksheet, it is good to always save it. So I will start saving it and I would simply say File, Save As. And as I've mentioned earlier, if you are planning to share this to your colleagues, it's good to save it in your OneDrive. So you notice I have a OneDrive account under my name. And if I click on OneDrive, I have multiple folders where I could actually keep this. So I could put it in my Excel data files, and in here I could enter the name and I could call this as my sample file. And I would simply click on save. And once I save it, okay, take a look. It is now named sample file instead of book one. And you have here an automatic save. So once you use OneDrive, it automatically saves. So if in the future you wish to share this, you could either click on share, and when you click on share, okay, so it will actually bring you over and you could select the name of the person that you would like to share this information with. And if you notice right here, it says people who are you going to share this file can only view. If you click on the drop down arrow, if you want them to edit it, so you could say can edit. And when you do that and you type the name of your coworker, I'm going to just send it to my coworker. He knows that I always use him in any of my class. I'm going to share it with Rafael, and all I have to do is click on the send. And these will allow me to be able to send, the link or the access to this file. Okay, I'm not going to send because I don't want his, email to be clogged with all my sample files, but that's how it actually works. So next, let me move forward because I know time goes by very fast and I would like to start creating a simple formula. Okay, let me share with you again my PowerPoint presentation. You could create simple formula to add, to subtract, to multiply, to divide, and use percentage in your worksheets, right? So these are the operators we normally use and recognize in our manual calculation. In Excel, we use the same functions. However, we also use the plus sign, the minus sign. You don't use the X to multiply, but you rather use the asterisk. You use this symbol to divide, but in Excel, you use the slash and you use the same percentage to be able to actually create, a formula. Now, when you're doing manual addition, we normally add the values. 5 plus 5 equals 10. That's how we do our manual calculation or using your calculator. But in Excel, it's the other way around. We don't use the actual value. We actually use the cell address where those values reside. So these 5 reside in C2 plus D2 gives you the total in E2. Okay, and once you create that formula, it actually could be seen, the formula could be seen in the formula bar, and the answer could be seen in the cell where you started creating the formula. Also, it's good to note that you always start a formula in Excel with an equal sign. So instead of talking about it, allow me to share this with you so we could start creating some information. I am going to open a file that's already existing. So to save time, and we are going to just simply open a file that I have created for our exercise. So allow me to use my documents. And I have here my fundamentals of Excel, and I'm going to use the practice workbook. Okay, there you go. Take a look at this where this is similar to what I have created. So to get the total, okay, we simply have to add this. So I'm going to start showing you how to create a formula. So again, as I've mentioned, when you're creating a formula in Excel, you always start on the cell where you want the answer to be. So Okay, Janine, I see your question. What is the difference by using OneDrive and saving it on your desktop or in a file? What's the advantage? I'll talk about it in a few minutes. Let me just proceed with this formula for a minute, okay? So again, we start with the equal sign. And once you click on the equal sign, you are telling Excel you are starting to create a formula. So you simply add the values coming from B5. Instead of typing B5, once you enter or start pressing the equal sign, any cell where you click would automatically be added to this formula. So when I will simply click on B5, and you notice how B5 appears. And I would like to add, so I use the operator plus. Then I will click on C5 plus D5 plus E5. And that gives me all of the values that I need to add from region 1 to region 4 for the month of January. And I would simply click on the enter key on my formula bar so I could see the total 2,370, and the formula is right there in my formula bar. See it? Okay, so let's do another one, right? So I could actually do again, you start with the equal sign, you actually click on the first cell, B6, because I am in F6. I wanted to get the values in row 6, relative to the location of the formula. So I say B6 plus C6 plus D6 plus E6. And that's basically one way of doing it. It's the long way of doing addition. Another quick way of doing addition, since we have basically time constraint, is the use of AutoSum. So if I am in F7 and I use the AutoSum function, notice in the home ribbon, AutoSum is right here on the editing where I see AutoSum. I could also see it in the formula under the function library, and I see AutoSum right there. So when I click on AutoSum, AutoSum allow me to be able to select the numbers, the closest numbers where I am right now located. So I'm actually right now in F7. So AutoSum could actually look at the value above it or the value on the left side. So if I click on AutoSum at this point, most likely it will pick up the values on top, which I know are actually not the correct value to add. I need to add the values in here. So this is currently active. So to correct that, all you have to do is simply put your mouse on the correct values. So that will be from B7, and using my left mouse, continue to hold it and drag it up to E7. There you go. So equal sum of B7 to E7, and click on the check mark will actually give me those value. And that's the use of AutoSum. So allow me again to use AutoSum. And there you go. B8 to E8, and I know that's the correct one. I would simply click on the enter key. Now, you could also be able to use, remember how you have the autofill, okay? Autofill could actually also be able to help you copy the formula to the remaining cells. So I wanted to get, notice how the consistent, I'm adding, the values associated to the cell where, you want your formula to be. So I wanted my answer to be in F9. So you would like to get and pick up the values of row number 9. So if I go back to row and cell F8 and I use the autofill, notice if I drag it down, take a look how I was able to copy the formula in the remaining cell of that particular column. And that's how it actually works, okay, using that value. Okay, now let me go back to your question before I move on to another topic quickly. So your question, Janine, this might be the same question that everybody have. if you save it in OneDrive, you could easily be able to share it. That's one advantage, okay? You don't have to attach the file. Take a look. So if I save it here, this is the file, this is called Practice Workbook. If I say File, Save As, and if I will put it on my Documents folder, so I'm in my Documents folder, and I will call it Practice Workbook with Answer, okay? And I save it, okay? So this is saved, okay? However, if I click on Share, it will still ask me to upload it first to OneDrive for me to be able to share it easily. If not, I could still share, but it will only be attached as a PDF file or it will be attached as a separate file. Okay, so once you are in OneDrive, any correction that I do or my coworker will do, I will be able to see. We could actually see each other's correction, and that's one of the advantage of it. I hope I've answered your question. Okay, so let me now open another file that I could show you more of additional basic functions in Excel. So allow me to open sales report. Okay, and in here, I have okay, I am going to show you a little bit more so that we could practice a little bit more. But allow me to just continue on showing you now, going back to my presentation. So we were able to actually use our navigation. So far, so we did that. We enter and edit data. We have created a formula. We use the sum function and we were able to save. And I have not done the printing, but I'll show you how to print. Now I brought you back to one exercise down here where I could show you another way of doing the formula. So in Excel, there's another way of doing a formula. Instead of using the AutoSum or instead of using the long way of adding its cell, there is also what you call the sum function, okay? Now, to do the sum function, allow me to do it in this particular exercise where everybody could see it. Allow it to make it bigger so you could see it. And I would say equals. So again, I start with the equals. But instead of, basically using the AutoSum function, since I would like to add, I will simply use the function I would like to use, which is the sum function. So I would say sum. So I start pressing the letter S. You notice the moment I press the letter S, there is a series of functions available for you down here. Okay, and I continue with a U, and I now see the sum functions. Now, when you are using a function in Excel, what it does is you have to type the function, right? And you have to actually add individual values or the cell reference or range inside a parenthesis. So instead of the good thing about using these functions that you have on the list, it will automatically add the open parenthesis for your set of values. So if I double click on the word sum, you notice it gave me the correct spelling of sum with an open parenthesis. And all I have to do, since this is an active, formula, an active sum function, you simply use your left mouse to click on the cell that you would like to add together. So you click on the range that you would like to use. So I will go from B5, click and hold your left mouse in B5, and drag it all along to E5. When you see it right there, equals sum B5 to E5, and you could also see it in the formula bar. Normally, you end any of the formula with a close parenthesis. But in Excel, when you have a single set of parentheses, you don't have to put the close parenthesis. Excel will automatically close it for you. So if I simply click on the enter key to accept my formula, it will automatically give me the total. Okay, so where I have to write the total in here. So that's basically what we have right now. So let's continue. If let me do it one more time, equals, and I would say equals sum, okay? And I press again. Notice I did not double click. If I don't double click, I could press the open parenthesis, and I could select the range using my left mouse to select the range, and I could click on the check mark to get the answer. Okay, so either you actually do it yourself, or you could actually use the function on the list. Again, I type SU, sum, range, and click on it. And that's it. Okay, or I could simply use the autofill. Here, I could use the AutoSum if I would like to, AutoSum. And notice, since it is recognizing the value on top of it, so equals sum B5 to B8, okay? And I could simply click on this, and I could just simply use the autofill handle to complete the series. And if I would like to add this, use the AutoSum to get the total, and that's basically the same total. Okay, so and that's how you basically create a simple formula in Excel. Now, I would like to go back to the previous file that we have where we started earlier. As you could see, when we were entering the values, I just wanted to show you, emphasize certain things with you. Remember where you have your data here and the word September overflows. So notice to be able to fit this, because the moment I put any value in here, let me just show you quickly. If I have the value here of 450, you know, as the value. You notice how it truncated September, because now the next cell to it, which is B13, contains value. So how will I be able to show the word September? In Excel, you could automatically or manually adjust the column width. So if you notice, allow me to just make it a little bit smaller so you could see the heading and you could see the rest of the data. There you go. Everybody could see it, right? If you notice, between column A and column B, if I put my mouse between that column heading, my mouse will automatically turn to a double-headed arrow. If I click and hold my left mouse, I could drag it slowly to the right, okay? Until I think it will be able to show the column. Okay, adjust it and I could see September completely. However, if I would do an automatic adjustment, it will actually change the width of the column based on the longest line of this column. So if I double click on, see between A and B on the column heading, watch how that column A would actually accommodate the longest line in column A, which is monthly sales report by region. But obviously, that's not what I wanted. That's too big for that column. So I would simply go back, use this, and just drag it to the size I would like it to be, and use the manual way of editing it. Okay, and that's basically the way to be able to edit that option. So earlier, I showed you how to save this file, okay? And let me just go to another file that we were working on a while ago, where I have this practice workbook where I saved this in my document. So let me just show you another way or some other save screen option. So if I go save us, okay? And you notice again, so I have an option to save it in OneDrive, to save it, when you browse, to save it in this PC where I was able to save it in my documents, or to other places, or you could browse. If you click on browse, you could actually be able to find other location where you could actually save it on the desktop, on your document, okay, on the C drive, or on your shared drive, which I have my shared drive right here. So these are the different location where I could actually save it. Okay, so that's basically what it is. Now, if I would save it on my document for this purpose, and I will have practice workbook with answer. When I save, I could save it there, and I could put it in my fundamental of Excel, and it's right there. Now, if I would like to convert this into what you call PDF file, all I have to do is on the Save As type, simply just select PDF, and this will automatically be converted into a PDF. And all you have to do, okay, open file after publishing, click on Save, and there you go. And it will actually, there you go. So it was actually saved. If I want to go back and look at my file, okay, so take a look. Okay, where see my screen in my documents, inside the folder where I have my, oops, okay, and I'm going to look for, okay, there you go. I said my fundamentals of Excel, and there's my PDF file. Okay, so when I open it up, okay, and here it is. It's on my other screen. It is now in PDF file. There you go, in PDF. Now, let me close it just for you to be able to view it. Now, one of the nice things here in our new version, you could also save it in different file format. Again, if you go to the Save As, if you click on the drop-down arrow, these are the different format. You could save it as a template. You could use it as a comment delimiter, okay? That's an Excel template right there, and or a CSV, any of this type that you would like to share and convert it into. So I've shown you how to convert it into PDF file easily. Now, let me go back here. Another nice things about using this option, if you look at your quick access toolbar, there is an icon that we don't normally use too often, and that is what you call an email. If you wanted to email this file quickly, you simply click on email and it will automatically open your Outlook, okay, your Outlook account, and you would see that the file, and take a look, I'm going to share with you my Outlook. There you go. And there's my Outlook. And take a look. It is from me. And this is the practice workbook with answer. And here's the file automatically attached to it. So you could just simply select the name of the person or coworker to whom you would wish to share your file. Okay. So it's already 1:55. And basically I have covered all the important things except for, of course, printing. So when you wanted to print, all you have to do is click on print and say print. And when you click on print, you'll be able to see the file right there. And all you have to do is send print. And this will actually be printed to, send to the printer that your computer is attached to. And that's basically it. So let me go back to my PowerPoint, and I have few more things I wanted to go over. I could share with you this informations, which actually what I did and showed you, but the explanation is here. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining me this afternoon.